Welcome to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1, where I explore the world of geocaching. If you like the podcast, please consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or the Geocache Adventures Facebook page. Or share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it. Word of mouth is a great way to spread the podcast. You can also join Geocache Adventures on Buy Me a Coffee. Just follow Geo Adventures, that's one word, GEO Adventures on Buy Me a Coffee, and get behind the scenes on every episode or become a member to unlock other exclusive content. Hi everybody, Amy Shadow Dragon 1 here, and with me today is Joseph, aka SirDrumalot, fellow geocacher and vlogger. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hey Amy, thanks for having me.
So to start out, I always like to know, how did you get started geocaching?
Let's see, it was back in 2013. It was the summer, and I had just come back from another town working back to I worked for a retail giant back then, and I had come back, and one of the gals that I was friends with, we'd known each other a couple of years. She asked me about it. She said, "Have you ever heard of geocache?" And I was like, "No." And she kind of, gave the basic breakdown, and I was like, "Well, that sounds kind of fun." My oldest son, he was 4 at the time, and besides playing in the backyard, we weren't real outdoorsy at all. And I was like, "Well, this would be a cool way to get us outdoors." And I signed up. I think I created my account on August 4th of 2013, and he and I went and found a cache that day, that afternoon. So, and that's just how I got started, and I've been hooked ever since. I mean, just nearly obsessed. So,
When you take your kids geocaching, is it a chore? Is it hard to get them to go, or are they pretty enthusiastic about it?
it kind of depends. Um, because I don't get to go caching nearly as often as I'd like. I usually have specific ones I want to go get for some specific stat I might be working on, and they get pretty miserable about those because I'm like, okay, I got this one, let's go get this one. And but if we're off on vacation somewhere, it's just like, hey, there's a cache nearby, you want to check it out. A lot of times they're a little more agreeable. And then if we're just out and about, sometimes the two little ones would be like, "Hey Dad, is there a cache around?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go find one." So it kind of varies from here and there.
Now, your kids, you have a bit of a variety of age ranges, because I just have the one kid, but you have multiple kids. So do you have trouble trying to find something that suits all of them, or does it kind of
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. My oldest son, Hayden, he's about to be 14. He has to go in the woods. The world is coming to an end. He hates being in the woods. He can't stand it. The other two, they will take off into the woods, and I have to tell them to slow down. But if it's an urban cache, Hayden's all about it. But he just kind of halfway looks around. He'll kind of stand back. But the 10-year-old and the 7-year-old, yeah, they're in there. They're looking for it. So, and occasionally the 7-year-old will find it and he gets tickled. So he's a fun little guy. So
Well, they seem like they have fun when they're in your videos with you.
yeah. Sometimes I hope. So.
Your channel's called SirDrumalot the Geocacher. Can you give us a little breakdown about what you do on your vlog?
Okay, well, originally it was just SirDrumalot. Okay,
Okay.
and years went by, and I kept getting all these emails about drumming because I used to drum a lot. That's where the name came from. And but I was constantly getting emails about, was this your drum web page, and everything referring to drums, and this channel is just about geocaching. And my wife actually helped me out with this, and I was like, I got to do something to change, kind of change the brand to where people that aren't into geocaching don't get it confused. And she said, well, just put the geocacher after it. And I said it a couple times. I was like, yeah, that'll work. So that's just kind of how that happened. But my channel is strictly geocaching, except for one video, and it was several years ago. We actually got a decent snow down here in South Mississippi, and we knew it was going to snow, and I wanted to try and go get a cache in the snow because I thought that'd be fun. But it ended up being a lot more snow than what we anticipated. And snow down here is different from snow anywhere else because everything here shuts down. You know, we don't have snow tires, we don't have plows, we don't have salt spreaders and all that stuff. So it's really kind of dangerous for us to get out in it. So I just videoed the kids playing out in the snow, and I uploaded it. So that's other than that one video, my entire channel is nothing but geocaching. So
Yeah, I think some people kind of lose sight on that when you get in the lower southern United States. You guys get snow so rarely that you don't have all the snow equipment.
No,
and
we
you
don't.
just kind of like that 1/4-inch dusting that we get and just go to work kind of shuts down everything down there.
Yeah, yes, it does.
How long have you been doing the vlog?
If memory serves right, I think in May it will be 6 years since my first video. And it's always been kind of sporadic for me. There have been times where I was doing, once every other week. There was a good span several years ago. I was doing one a week. But like the past year or so, it's just whenever I can get out and I feel like I'm doing something that I can actually make a video with, I do it. Like right now, I haven't put out a video since December, middle of December, and I haven't been caching. I mean, I've picked up a few quick park and grabs, at work, but I haven't done anything video worthy, so I don't have any footage. So it's just kind of nowadays with everything going on, it's whenever I get enough footage, I'll put together a video.
Why did you start vlogging your geocache finds?
That's a good question. I really don't know. When I first heard about geocaching, of course, I went to the internet, to YouTube, like most people do nowadays, and getting an idea of how it was played, what kind of things to look for, things like that, and of course, came across Joshua the geocaching vlogger, and got a kick out of him, and found some other guys and gals, and I watched a lot of videos. I was like, well, that might be kind of fun to do one day, and Lisa from Cache Advance, the very first geo challenge that they put out was what year it was. I think it was 2016. The geo challenge was to get out and do cache maintenance, and it came out I think on a Tuesday or something. And literally the next day, I had planned a maintenance run on all of my caches at the time for the next day. And I was like, I want to enter the contest because I want that cool coin. And so I vlogged that, and it's terrible. It's horrible. I watch it from time to time to remember how bad it was. And and I sent it in, and I forget who emailed me. I don't remember who it was, or maybe commented on that video. I think it might have been Scott Miller, GSM times 2.
Yes.
Everybody knows Scott. I think it may have been him. Very, I guess, intrigued by the way I speak. I don't have a deep Southern drawl, but I do have a drawl, and said, I'd like to see more videos, and I was kind of like, oh, really? Well, it might be kind of fun. So I just started doing it, and I have fun doing it because I think for the longest time, rather, drumming, playing in not bands or anything, but being part of local little performances that I'd be asked. I was doing a lot of that, and that's a big creative outlet for me. And once kids came along, I just don't have the time to do all that. Because you have to sit around for hours, 2 or 3 hours a day to practice, keeping the chops up, learning new things. And I just didn't have time to keep up with that creative outlet. And this gave me another creative outlet, and to kind of let I guess my weird way of thinking about some things come out, and I get to share my home state. You know, Mississippi gets such a bad rap about everything, and it's such a lovely place. It's such a nice state to come to, and that's what most of my channel and my videos are is Mississippi. So 'cause I don't get out much.
What's something that you have learned about geocaching by doing your vlogs?
Oh, how to really appreciate the hunt for the cache. And
Okay.
what I mean by that is before I got into vlogging, I would spend who knows how much time looking for a cache. You know, if it took 20, 30 minutes, I was in there, I was looking for it, I wanted to find it. But with vlogging, it seems like I'm always a little rushed because I may want to set my camera a certain way. I may be paying attention to a shadow, which I typically don't pay attention to that kind of stuff because I like the more organic feel. But you know, there might be things that I want to do for a particular transition or scene or something, and it kind of takes away from the actual geocaching a little bit.
Okay.
So I've gotten to where I appreciate caching without the camera a little more. If that does that make any sense at
It
all?
does. It does.
It's kind of weird to me. I really love caching without the camera more than I do with the camera, to be honest. But you know, I like editing and all of that, so it's kind of a catch-22 for me.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Because when you start slicing and start producing more for your content, so just, oh, I'm here, I'm going to walk up and grab the cache and show you that. When you start kind of not filler or fluff, but when you start adding more content to show kind of the whole adventure
Hmm.
and tell a story with it, there's a lot more thought that you have to put in what you're doing for that versus just trying to find your geocache.
Right, and really appreciating the surroundings too, because I'll never forget um, at the at Geo Woodstock, the Giga in Cincinnati. You know, I was with a group of other vloggers, and we were going to find the oldest cache in Ohio, and we were we were so just kind of in tunnel vision about, you know, what are you going to do for this shot? What are, you know, we were kind of interested in how each other puts together things, you know, puts
Yeah.
together videos. We go find the cache, we sign it. We didn't even go on up the trail to the overlook to where you could see out, you know,
Oh,
over the whole area. I completely missed that. Never even thought about it. And it's
wow.
because we were so focused on, you know,
You're so
the
focused on the
camera
video.
shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I missed out on a lovely view that I don't get to see here in Mississippi. Because there's no hills here.
Well, one of the videos that I found really interesting on your blog, and it leads into today's topic. You did one that I believe it was something titled like 4 geocaches 1 yard, and it had this
Yeah.
giant letterbox geocache.
Yeah.
So let's break down the very basics, because there's an actual activity called letterboxing outside of geocaching.
It was actually around before geocaching.
Yes, around, I believe, in the early 1900s.
No, it was
Was that 1800?
1854.
I was going to say
1854.
1800s, and I'm like, no, that doesn't sound right. But
Yeah.
I should have wrote down the date. I don't know why I did.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up right here, so that way I wouldn't forget. But yeah, so letterboxing started in 1854 in England. I think it says, and I'm not going to pronounce it correctly, but Dartmoor, England, and it was basically a man put out some kind of little container with like a business card type thing, and when people would pass by, they would pick it up and go see him. It was kind of like an advertisement for himself, and it just kind of progressed into what letterboxing is now, which is you can go to, there's a website dedicated to it, and there may be more than one website. I didn't look around. I just found this one, and it's atlasquest.com. And that's like the official, I guess, letterboxing website. And you can go on there and find letterboxes in your area, and you can read all about the history and everything. But it just kind of progressed along from just the business card in the container to it's a rubber stamp. You can buy the rubber stamp. I think if you really want to get into letterboxing, you buy one and make it yourself, like carve it out yourself. And you carry around your rubber stamp and a notebook, and you go find a letterbox, which is going to be written instructions, unlike geocaching, which is GPS guided. So you've got written directions. And once you find it, there is a stamp and a logbook. You can sign the logbook, or you can stamp your stamp into their logbook and then stamp your little book that you carry with that letterbox's stamp. And I think that's pretty cool. I'd never thought about going for a letterbox, but I might look into this a little bit. It might be something just a little extra I can do on the side. Like I need more.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of parallels between letterboxing and geocaching. But as far as I can tell from everything I've read, that they've, geocaching developed completely independent from letterboxing, which is really interesting.
Well, geocaching was all about, the blue switch,
testing
enabling
the GPS accuracy.
Right. That's what geocaching was all about, was the GPS hunt, getting coordinates to go find the container. And letterboxing, while you're still looking for the container, you're using written clues, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, sometimes a map and compass, maybe.
Yeah, there's a little section about how to get started letterboxing, and they even advise to get a map and compass because, I guess just like geocaching, you might find yourself, out in the wilderness away from everything, and you might need a compass to use, and I don't know how to use one, so.
I'm not good at it, but I have one, and I can figure out which direction I'm going.
Yeah.
Well, it really depends on the compass you buy, because if you've got like one of those little cheapy ones, I don't know how you really tell where you're going. But if you buy, you can buy a decent one for like maybe $10 on Amazon, and it actually has that line that stays stationary, and then you rotate it. But it's like you got the little kids ones and stuff, and it's like I don't know how you're supposed to navigate with these things.
Other than say walk north.
Yeah, other than find north and go north, I have yet to figure how to actually navigate with those.
No,
So letterbox geocaches they morph together, and like the traditional geocache, they have the physical container, but there are some differences between those traditional and letterbox caches.
Yeah. Okay. So with the traditional cache, you have your GPS coordinates, and you follow whether you're using a GPS receiver or your cell phone, smartphone. You follow your little compass until you get to those coordinates, and you search around, of course, and then you sign the logbook and replace it as you found it. With the letterbox hybrid, similar in the fact GPS coordinates are somewhere in the listing, and I'm pretty sure on this, the cache page, the coordinates have to be at least where you're going to start, but not necessarily where the final container would be.
Right.
In fact, I did one the other day where I got to the coordinates. I was in a parking lot, and it said walk so many paces north, and that's all it said. Well, I walked 25. I think it was 25 paces, and sure enough, there was the ammo can. So, but I have done letterboxes to where it was just really a traditional geocache.
Yeah.
But the biggest difference with the letterbox hybrids, I think, is going to be there's an ink pad and a stamp and a logbook in there, and you can stamp your stamp in there and stamp, your book with the letterbox hybrid stamp. So that's where the mix comes in, I think, is with the stamp itself. But I do like letterbox hybrids where it really morphs the two together, where you might get a starting place, but then get some clues to find the cache itself. I like doing those.
Yeah, it's really important to read the full cache page on
Yes.
those. My first letterbox was more like the traditional one where you just went straight to the point. And, oh, here, look at this. Well, then I tried
Yep.
doing other ones. I'm like, why can't I find anything? There's nothing here. And I made the complete newbie mistake of not reading the description, not reading the full cache
Uh-huh.
page. And I went to
Mm-hmm.
3 of them. And I was just like, I can't find any of these. What in the world is going on?
Oh no.
And I asked somebody else about it, and they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, it was a little tricky, true letterbox fashion. You had to go down a bit." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't read the cache page."
I actually hid my first 2 letterboxes last year. Toward the end of last year, and one of them I just gave coordinates, and then there's a stamp and a logbook and ink pad in there. But the other one I did more like a traditional letterbox, where I gave the starting coordinates, and I didn't even give a couple of waypoints along the way. And I've got this whole kind of story made up, and you actually have to
Oh,
search a pretty good area if you don't really if you're not really paying attention to which way you're walking. So,
okay.
and I've gotten some good feedback on that one from some people. People around this way are pretty stingy with favorite points, but uh, let's see, when did I put this one out? I put it out October 16th, and it's got 7 logs on it, which that's pretty good for my area. But yeah, it's fun. I based it's on a disc golf course, and I basically told this little story about how I wanted to try disc golf, and my frisbee went awry, and I had to go find the frisbee, and and I kind of give a bearing a little bit, and there's a few pictures on the cache page. So, but I like it. I plan on doing some more letterboxes kind of like that, or letterbox hybrids. I think
and
that's fun.
and I think it's important to be clear here on when we're talking about the stamp, because some people will get a custom stamp with just their cacher name to
Yeah.
stamp the log real quickly, but this is a different type of stamp.
Yeah, this would be, I think it'd be more fun if people would do this. Would get a rubber stamp. You can get a plain blank rubber stamp and carve out whatever you want. I think that just adds more to the fun. I have yet to do that, of course, but you can get stamps online. You can get them at Hobby Lobby. I haven't found one at Hobby Lobby that suits me, but I plan on doing one pretty soon because I've gotten to where I really like doing the letterbox hybrids, and of course I want to try out some regular letterboxes. But I think I'm going to get a stamp and carve out something. It'll be something drum related. I always draw like a little snare drum in the book, and I might do something along that line. But I think people should take advantage of doing that instead of just using their regular log stamp, that just has their name. To me, it adds more fun to the activity.
Yeah, it is really interesting. And a couple that I've done, sometimes the stamp in the cache will tie to the name
Hmm.
or location. I did one that was
Yeah,
called like Lone Wolf or something like that, and it had a wolf stamp inside of it.
yeah. Well, the one that you were talking about in my video, the guy that put those caches out that had that big giant letterbox, he's retired. I guess he's retired, but he was a military guy, and the stamps that he had in there were, I think he had 3 different ones, and I think all 3 of them were a U.S. flag, if I remember right. I don't have my little book with me, but And I was trying to think if any of the others I did tied into the cache. I'm sure they probably did. He has another one, and it's one of the first letterboxes I found. And what was the name of it? I can't remember, and it'd take me forever to find it. But it was something about Snoopy, and I think that he had like a little doghouse stamp. If I remember right, I'd really have to go back and look.
I love it.
But
I love Snoopy.
yeah, that would be great. If the stamp's tied in, and the other letterbox I had where you just get the coordinates, it's hidden behind the oh gosh, what are they called? The American Legion.
Okay.
But behind their place, and I put a US stamp, and I've got stickers and stuff all over it. But that's how I tied it into that one. The disc golf, and I think I just put a smiley face one in there. But the next one I'm planning on doing it's based off of Mississippi was home to one of two nuclear tests east of Mississippi, east of the Mississippi River, and one of them is about 20 miles from here, from my house, and which of course you can't go there, but I found a spot where I can put a cache, and I'm probably going to do a letterbox, but I was in Hobby Lobby a couple of weeks ago, and I found a rubber stamp. And it looks like the old cartoon bomb, just a circle with the fuse out. And I saw it and said, I've got to remember to come back and get that, because I think that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I like it.
May not be for the residents down that way, but so.
And I'm gonna link to your video with this walk-in letterbox on the show notes, because it's a really neat, because when we say walk-in letterbox, it's like a shed.
Yeah,
it's there.
It's like an 8x8 building. It's brick and mortar. It had a little small like air conditioning unit in it. There was a little small plug-in heater in there. For whatever the weather's doing. It was insulated. It was a full-on little house, really. But I just remember walking into it and just going, it's like geocaching Mecca in here, because there's trackables all over the place. Discover codes just everywhere. Everything in there was geocaching, and it was awesome. That's one of the best caches I've done, easily.
And one of the neat things that I liked about it was you stamped the wall. The walls were like the logbook, which was pretty neat.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool touch too. And of course you can see on there on the video, I draw the little snare drum that I draw in the little letter boxes and sign my name to it. So
how long have you been drumming?
I started in middle school band in, I guess, 5th grade. So I was like 10, but it was always marching band for me until college. And I started getting involved with some of the other groups, like, jazz band, percussion ensemble, and, concert band, and a show choir, and started doing all this stuff. So I was actually a music ed major for several years. I never finished, but I love playing. I love watching people play drums, whether it's jazz, heavy metal, drum corps. I love drum corps. So I was more of a marching guy, but I do love drum set, especially rock and roll, heavy metal drum set. So I've been playing a while, but it's just kind of a hobby nowadays.
So when you had to pick your geocaching name, it was kind of natural for that to be incorporated into it.
Yeah. At the time, I was still fairly active, with different things, several drum forums. I would help out a couple of the local high schools and things like that. And I had just been using SirDrumalot for so long on all those forums. When I signed up for geocaching.com, it was just natural to put that in. And it kind of stuck. I've considered changing it several times, and no, I'm fine with it. So it was just, I was already using it, so I might as well use it for this too.
It works. It works. That's how I ended up with mine. It was just a username that I think it was middle school. I needed it for something.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, like I don't remember what it was even for. It was like just some online game or email address or something where you had to have a username, and trying to come up with something. And Shadow Dragon 1 was the first thing I was able to enter that actually worked. And then it always seems to be available. So I just kept using it.
I think it's a great username. That's a solid username. I love Shadow Dragon. That's cool. That's really cool.
It was just one of those, like, it has followed me for so long, just because, and I say that, and the more I say it, one of these days somebody's going to go out on some site and use it just to grab it because they can't. But it always seems to just be available.
Yeah. Well, and that's, going back to mine, that's why I had to do add the geocacher, because there were so many other SirDrumalots on, Instagram and whatever else. So I had to add that to just kind of get some kind of separation from those guys or gals. They may, I don't know. So.
Oh, that's fun. So for this week's, or I don't know, this episode, it's weird because sometimes I start referencing in a frame of time, and time isn't necessarily relevant on a podcast. But for today's cache highlights, you have for us the Mississippi Geo Tour, and that's GT4BF.
Yes, that's the Hattiesburg Geo Tour. Getting a geo tour in your area is kind of a big deal.
Yes,
I mean, it
is.
really is. All the planning that those guys have to go through, and just getting everything lined up. I couldn't imagine putting one of those together. But I don't live far from Hattiesburg at all. It's only like 25 minutes. I've got several videos that are in Hattiesburg. In fact, I'm supposed to do a video for them, finding caches and things like that. But I haven't been able to. But Hattiesburg is such a nice, I guess, town. If I say city, I think of skyscrapers and stuff. But it's a big town. It's a decent sized town. I don't know the population, but it's a very eclectic mix of people and businesses and things, because we're not far from the Gulf Coast. We're not far from New Orleans. We're not far from, Alabama. It's Memphis. So it's just kind of this nice conglomeration of cultures and stuff. And the Geo Tour, which I've done about half of it. I just kind of picked some up when I was driving by.
Okay.
There's some really cool, creative geocaches that are on it. I've had a couple on my TikTok and a couple on my Instagram. And I know that a couple of more are really cool because I've been to them, but I didn't log them or anything. I didn't sign it. And you really get to see a lot of what Hattiesburg has to offer, as far as the food, the people, several different businesses. The downtown area is just it's beautiful down there. It's they have a public art trail, which includes murals. They have over 100. They're on some list of a city of 100 murals or something. I forget what it's called. Yeah, and they're beautiful. There's part of the art trail is sculptures downtown that are really nice. I've visited several of those. They have another part of the trail, the electric junction boxes on corners. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're painted up, and there's like 100 of those or something. I forget how many. And you can do that. They're always doing neat activities downtown, really family oriented stuff. You can't beat the food. And I'll tell you that right now. The food in Hattiesburg is spectacular. Not like the chain places, but the local mom and pop shops. It's fantastic. The art trails are nice. And there's also a rails to trail in Hattiesburg. So it's called the Hattiesburg Trail. No, what's it called? I just call it the Trace, and I don't remember the actual name for it. But it's an old rail line that was
Okay.
paved, and it goes from Hattiesburg kind of northwest to Prentice. It's like 42 or 44 miles long.
Wow.
Yeah. So bike riding, walking, walking the dogs, and several sections of it have a horse trail alongside it, so folks that ride horses can ride the trail. But Hattiesburg's just it's so cool. You've got Camp Shelby, which is one of the larger military bases. I know a lot of the military training for the country goes on at Camp Shelby, and there's a couple of caches there. But they've got a really nice military museum there. It's a really, really cool place. I was actually pretty close to it the other day, and there's just boom, boom. They're doing training out there. So,
Yeah.
but the Geo Tour is really, really nice. I think it's got. I was going to try and look and see. I think it's got over 100 logs on it already, and it just released in December. And most of the folks are saying that it's the best geo tour that they've done.
That's
So
pretty awesome.
yeah, it really is. I've only done 2 geo tours, and I already know everything in Hattiesburg. So I'm just kind of like, well, we'll see what's special about it. But Hattiesburg it's just a really cool place to visit. So
Have you completed the Geo Tour or just done part of them?
I've just done part of it. It's just been some of the outliers.
Okay. Yeah.
If they're kind of path where I might be driving that day, I will pick one up. But pretty soon, I'm hoping to go finish it out and do a video to try and do those guys some justice on that one. But I can't wear my hat, so
Oh.
yeah, it's because my
Branding
hat.
issues.
Yeah, well, my hat it's a Mississippi State hat. I went to state, but that's not Hattiesburg. Hattiesburg is
Right.
USM. So they're just like, don't wear the hat. And I've got a Geo Tour hat. I think it's in my car. So they're like, here, wear this. I said, okay, I'll wear your hat instead. Because
That's
I think,
fair.
yeah, I guess they want to use it to kind of promote the geocaching in Hattiesburg. So which
That's pretty
I was just
neat.
like, well, yeah, I was like, wow, thanks. My videos aren't that good, but okay. You're not. I'm just goofing around.
But I think that's part of the fun of it because you are goofing around and I've laughed at so many of your videos just because you're out there just having fun and being goofy and the antics that you do.
Yeah,
It's just
that I think that's the biggest thing I get out of it. I don't care how many subscribers or followers I have. So what? The few I have, having fun watching me. Did you giggle a little bit? Fine. That's the world to me is just making folks just smile. So
but I don't remember which one it was I was watching. I laughed so hard because you set the camera up and you had your back to it and you were at a tree and you were acting like you were going to the bathroom. You do the whole shake with your leg and everything. And I just started laughing
yeah.
so hard.
Oh yeah.
At that.
I got in trouble for that one. My wife did not approve. I was like, I wasn't really doing anything. I said I did that earlier. But yeah, I like to do funny little things like that.
I laughed so hard over that one. And it might be just because like I have a son. You have sons, you get this. Boys will just go wherever.
Yeah, where's the nearest tree? Can anybody see me?
It doesn't matter. When they're a certain age, it doesn't matter if anybody can see you.
That's right. That's right.
And like we go to grandma and grandpa's house and they're out in the middle of nowhere. So when you're out in the field feeding the cows and stuff, okay, find the nearest tree. you don't do that in the middle of town when we're at the park. So
Well, it has happened.
it happens.
Not me.
It
Not me.
happens with
But
kids for sure. And it's
oh yeah,
like,
oh yeah.
oh my
They don't
gosh.
care.
And I think if you have boys, you could appreciate that part of the clip because you just laugh because you know it happens, and especially with young boys, it's gonna happen wherever.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, that was. I got a kick out of doing that one. I said, "Who's gonna blast me?" But nobody did. Nobody did. I don't, I don't think anybody even mentioned that in the comments.
Oh,
On that
really?
video. I'd have to go back. But if memory serves correct, because that was a few years ago, I don't think anybody referenced that gag at all.
It was an older video, but I was going back watching some, and I laughed at that one. I was like, oh,
Well, good.
This is hilarious.
Good. I made you laugh. I'm happy about that.
You did. I enjoy the antics in your videos.
Good.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This has been so much fun.
I have had a great time. Thank you for inviting me.
There's a world of geocaches right out your door. Come on now, let's go explore.
Welcome to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1, where I explore the world of geocaching. If you like the podcast, please consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or the Geocache Adventures Facebook page. Or share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it. Word of mouth is a great way to spread the podcast. You can also join Geocache Adventures on Buy Me a Coffee. Just follow Geo Adventures, that's one word, GEO Adventures on Buy Me a Coffee, and get behind the scenes on every episode or become a member to unlock other exclusive content.